A man taking the Demon King qualification exam shocks the most powerful being in the demon world, the mother of all demons. All because he defeated a candidate for Demon King with a single punch. This sight even made the general commander of the Demon King's forces jump to his feet. How could he have learned to fight with ki in such a short amount of time? What kind of incredible talent is this? But what they don't know is, in my past life, I was the strongest person in the world, and I held the title of the world's best fighter for 10 years straight. Even in my final retirement match, I still maintained my record of 100 consecutive wins. But on the second day of my retirement, I was hit head-on by a large truck. I thought I was going to die a pathetic death, but just then, an angel appeared before me. She called herself Lachel. She was a headhunter specializing in recruiting souls from Earth whose time was up. And now, she laid two choices before me. I could either accept death peacefully and wait for my next reincarnation, where I become a poor, old bachelor, or I could be resurrected as a hero to save a world that was waiting for me. It was all so sudden. I felt like I needed some time to think it over, but the angel, Lachel, told me not to overthink it. This was a trip to another world that others could only dream of. But I was already sick of fighting. Reincarnation sounded like a pretty good option to me. The angel told me to focus and listen carefully to her explanation. If you become a hero in the other world, the village chief will immediately run out barefoot to welcome you with a grand feast. Then, moved by your kindness as the hero, you will flawlessly complete his simple quest. The village chief will be so grateful that he'll have his daughter marry you. But I wasn't interested in any of that. My reaction shocked the angel. I've gone this far and he's still not reacting? If this keeps up, I'm going to lose my headhunting bonus. Left with no choice, the angel initiated plan B. Fine then, just try harder in your next life. But I can't guarantee that you'll be reincarnated as a human 100% of the time. Hearing that, I had no choice but to agree. I'll do as you say. A smug smile crept across the angel's face. Then, she activated her teleportation power and sent me to the other world. Have a pleasant journey in the new world. I told her to wait a minute. You at least have to tell me the rules of this new world. When I came to, I heard someone shouting at me. I figured this must be the village chief the angel was talking about. But the next second, I was jolted awake by a heavy punch. It made me furious. How dare you do something like this to a hero? But when I got a clear look at the person in front of me, I froze. This monster in front of me looked like a minotaur. He didn't look anything like a village chief. Who do you think you are, sleeping like a vagrant in the slave district? I didn't know what to do. The only thing I could do was call myself a hero. He sized me up. I can't believe heroes these days are so pathetic. I felt more and more that something was wrong. But that angel couldn't have lied to me. I have to stay calm. I absolutely can't let this huge guy in front of me intimidate me. Then, a soft, cold laugh escaped my lips. I get it. He's just part of the beginner's tutorial. This kind of thing always happens in games. The next moment, I aimed a kick at his neck. Die, you beginner's tutorial. I can't believe a casual kick like that actually landed. This really is a pathetic tutorial. But I quickly realized I hadn't hit him at all. Instead, he had caught my leg. You keep calling yourself a hero. It's really starting to get on my nerves. His monstrous strength was immense. It felt like my ankle was about to break. This minotaur was getting ready to land a heavy punch on me. I needed to clear my head. The terrifying force of that punch nearly scared me stiff. Then, I was thrown into an underground prison by a goblin. I have no idea what went wrong. I was clearly told that I was the hero, yet I was sent into a pile of monsters. At this rate, not only will I lose the village chief's daughter, but I'll also die a virgin twice. Just then, I heard a voice from the next cell. You must be new, right? I'm a veteran hero, your senior. He told me that this place is the Demon King's fortress for human slaves. I quickly asked him what the hell was going on. Why did we end up in a place like this from the very beginning? And within this underground fortress, hundreds of heroes are imprisoned here. Every day, they wait for a true hero to come and save them. That red-headed idiot we were looking for before is the supreme commander of the Demon King's headquarters, Redrun, and that goblin just now is a guard here. His name is Jack. He's a notorious bastard. He reminded me to be careful in the future. The most important thing is, the reason we ended up in this mess is all because of that evil demon, Rahul. If it weren't for that damn demon sending us to the wrong place, how could we possibly have ended up like this? Hearing this, I quickly asked, you mean we're not supposed to be here? He was very certain about my question. Other heroes captured from different places have told us the same thing. Apparently, heroes have a designated starting point. Most of them start in bustling cities or quiet villages. Usually, heroes live ordinary lives. But definitely not like us, starting our journey surrounded by the Demon King's army. So, the reason we've fallen into this hellish place is all because of that narcissistic angel. I can't believe I was captured the moment I was teleported. Not only that, but I have to do hard labor every day and sing some stupid Demon King songs. We are the great Demon King's army. We crush humanity and devour humanity. The most despicable thing is this goblin on top of my head. He doesn't pick on anyone else. He just had to sit on me. After a day's work, I was about to pass out from exhaustion. Compared to going out for hard labor, I'd rather just stay obediently in prison. I suddenly remembered something. It was that hero's privilege the angel mentioned. I tried to summon the panel. This time, it went very smoothly. Panel quickly appeared before my eyes. On it were my stats and my name. Besides that, there were 2 other interfaces showing points. My strength is 28. Health is 31. Hearing this, the veteran hero immediately exclaimed, "You actually have 31 health points?" This earned me an envious look from the veteran hero. "They said you used to be a champion. You really are different. Your stats are already over 30 at level 1. I waved my hand dismissively. "What's the big deal? I'm still just a slave right now." The veteran hero told me not to give up. "With your stats, you can escape and become a true hero." But I couldn't be bothered to listen. I'm only level 1 right now. I haven't even found a way to level up. How am I supposed to escape? After waiting a long time, the man finally fell asleep. First, there are 2 things that look promising. One is the magical mining job that can grant superhuman strength. The other is this mysterious thing called hero points. Even these so-called heroes don't know about these hero points, so no one has ever gotten them right from the start. Just then, a very familiar light appeared before my eyes. Who would have thought that Angel would actually appear right in front of me, ready to explain what hero points are? She was just about to explain it to me, when I snatched her up in my hand. At that moment, I couldn't care less about any of that. I just wanted to beat the hell out of her. 10 minutes later, she gave me a sincere apology. She didn't realize that while she was eating snacks, coffee she spilled would destroy a magic circuit. So, the powers that be gave her a punishment. She was to become my manager. Or, to be more precise, she was to become my elf. This contract would only be lifted after the Demon King was defeated. But I had had enough. I'm sick and tired of fighting. Besides, I have no intention of defeating the Demon King right now. I just want to live a normal life here. Hearing these words, the elf was completely stunned. "Don't you want to be a hero?" This turn of events was far beyond what the elf had expected. She had thought I was just some simpleton who liked to fight. But the powers that be had already given her a direct order. She had to defeat the Demon King to complete her mission, and in doing so, had become a designated elf. A so-called designated elf is a being who is bound to a hero. They must actively cooperate with a hero, sharing in both life and death. Until the mission was complete, the gods of the upper realm would not permit her to return. No matter how much she pleaded, it had absolutely no effect. After hearing her story, I told her to get some rest. "You're my elf now, so for the time being, just focus on helping me escape from here safely." Time flew by, and soon it was the morning of the second day. When I heard the door creak, I quickly hid the elf behind my back. The elf told me to let her go, because she was able to cast a basic stealth spell herself. Just then, a goblin up ahead spoke to me. "Get up, now. Redlin summons you. He's heard you've been working very hard lately." I never thought this stinking goblin would actually praise me in front of Redlin. At first, Redlin just thought I was a madman, but he could see that I was working very hard. So, he had a proposal. And that proposal was for me to become a slave driver. Lately, the productivity of these slaves has dropped a lot, so we need someone to manage them. The elf urged me to refuse. What kind of hero runs errands for the Demon King? But instead, I rested my forehead on the table. "You can leave this matter to me without a worry. I will absolutely make these humans work with all their might." Redlin roared with laughter. "If you do a good job, I'll consider letting you join the Demon King's army." 3 days later, I began managing them. A human hero, increasing productivity for the Demon King. And there was an unexpected bonus. After leading a large group of people for a long time, my leadership skill increased. The people below all thought I had gone mad. Isn't he a hero? How could he become a master of slaves? The elf was also bewildered by my actions, but I told her that this was all part of the path to becoming a hero. How could a sparrow ever understand the ambitions of a swan? After that, I began to work the slaves mercilessly. As it turned out, just the night before, while the elf and I were arguing endlessly, a pop-up window had suddenly appeared before me. The hero panel displayed a message. "Due to some fool's mistake, you have fallen into the Demon King's fortress. However, an opportunity has arisen. Win the favor of Redlin of the Demon King's army. To become a hero, you must learn to use your enemies." Below that, a reward was listed. 100 hero points. Although I had no idea what that meant, I decided to follow the mission's instructions. After that, no matter what the elf said, I paid her no mind, focusing completely on my new role as the slave master. The elf was extremely puzzled. Was this really Choi Yun-sok's mission? Only the higher-ups can change mission details. But why would they treat Choi Yun-sok like this? Just then, the Goblin Jack came up to me. "You, come over here. Lord Redrun summons you." Afterwards, Redrun commented that efficiency had improved a lot recently, and my brown nosing toward Redrun left the elf completely speechless. What kind of hero acts like this? The next second, the system notified me. Mission complete. I had successfully gained Redrun's favor and received 100 hero points. After acquiring points for the first time, the basic hero shop was unlocked. Both the elf and I were stunned. I never thought my approach would actually work. But regardless, it was time for me to take the next step. So, I boldly made a request to Redrun. If it's alright, could I train these slaves? Redrun's eyes filled with confusion. Why would you train slaves? So I proposed a hypothetical. Imagine elite workers, diligent and moving in perfect unison. If we do that, work efficiency will be at least 3 times what it is now. The trained personnel could complete the fortress expansion within a week. As for the points I raised, Redrun had no reason to refuse, so he approved it on the spot. However, Rahul was having a meltdown. Our hero has definitely gone insane. Being the Demon Lord's lackey wasn't enough, and now he's actually training slaves. I get so annoyed just looking at this elf. If it wasn't for his mistake, I wouldn't be in this mess. Afterwards, I explained my entire plan to her. I'm going to strengthen these slaves, and then, when the time is right, they'll rise up with me. There are 3,000 human slaves in this castle, while the Demon Lord's army only has about 500 soldiers. Not far from here, there's a human alliance outpost. That's why they're expanding so urgently. The angel gave me an admiring look. Looks like you're not just some muscle-headed idiot after all. You're actually pretty smart. Then, I turned my gaze to my hero points. So, I opened the hero shop without hesitation. Alright, let's see what's in here. This was my only lifeline now. But the results were less than ideal. It was actually, improved breath-holding ability, and improved bowel control ability. Even the rest were just basic skills like cooking and cleaning, and laundry. This made me furious. Rahul gave an awkward laugh. Well, it's probably because it's a level 1 shop, right? She flapped her wings, getting ready to sneak away. The next second, I furiously grabbed for her. Get back here, I'm going to beat the crap out of you. You idiot. And so, that night, Rahul got another sound thrashing from me. The next day, I went back to training the slaves as usual, making them sing the Demon Lord's anthem. Meanwhile, Redrun received an urgent military dispatch. Human forces are advancing in this direction. The 8th Division sent to intercept them has been ambushed and routed. The 8th Division is the largest unit in the area. If even they've been defeated, it's only a matter of time before the enemy arrives here. Are we really going to so easily abandon this newly built fortress? Jack urged Redrun to evacuate immediately. Any later and it'll be too late. But a thought occurred to Redrun. They say war is a matter of logistics and supplies. And the first rule of war is, you must never lose a competent supply officer. You go on ahead, Jack. I'll find Yun Sok and catch up with you. After that, Redrun, from above, leapt down to my side. Without a word, he grabbed me. There's no time to explain. Just hurry up and come with me. Meanwhile, not far away, a human hero shouted, "Charge." Under their attack, the goblins were quickly defeated, and the human hero's target was Commander Redrun. I don't understand why the human army would be here. Maybe this is an opportunity for me. If I can destroy the Demon King's army and return to human society. Wouldn't that be perfect? A moment later, a knight came charging toward Redrun. But Redrun didn't even raise his head as he grabbed the knight's skull. Then, to my utter disbelief, he crushed that human knight to pieces. In that instant, I gave up any thought of escaping. There was no way I could ever stand up to him. So I quickly said that I would get started immediately. After that, the entire area was occupied by the human army. They began to separate the ordinary slaves from the heroes. Many of the heroes were secretly delighted. They were finally getting special treatment for being heroes. Then, a man appeared to greet them. The Duke of the Heckin Empire, commander of the Allied forces. A subordinate came over to report that the sorting of the heroes was complete. But his next words sent a deathly chill down the subordinate's spine. He ordered the man to eliminate everyone who called themselves a hero. Meanwhile, Redrun and I were escaping in a carriage. He told me that once I reached the 3rd Legion, I had to work as hard as I possibly could. And to stay in contact with him. He even made me a promise. That once we got to headquarters, he would officially enlist me in the army. I was stunned speechless. I really can't describe the honor I felt. Soon, we arrived at the headquarters of the 3rd Legion. And next, Redrun was going to take me to meet the most powerful of the demon race, the mother of all demons. On the outside, I said thank you, but on the inside, I was panicking. The most powerful being in the demon world, was she someone I can just go and meet? Redrun must have really high hopes for me. He told me that when I meet the mother of all demons, I must be extremely careful about my words and actions. To do otherwise would be a death wish. This was just as I had predicted. The mother of all demons had to be an unbelievably powerful figure. Before long, Redrun and I were at the door to her room. To my surprise, the commander was a woman. She then greeted Redrun. It's been a while. You're looking more impressive than ever. That, Redrun stepped forward to apologize for failing to protect the fortress. The commander told him not to worry about it. That was the fault of that foolish commander of the 8th Legion. I should have skinned that imbecile and turned him into a bag a long time ago. The immense pressure made it hard to breathe. My body couldn't even stop shaking. Just then, Hemis noticed me standing off to the side. This is the talented individual I reported to you about. I brought him here to officially recruit him into the Demon King's army. Immediately, Hemis appeared right in front of me. Since you're the one who personally selected him, then I will certainly have high expectations. However, with that human body of his, he might just get eaten around here. Hearing this, I frantically looked over at Laudren. I had no idea what to do. Don't worry, I'll train you myself. It's not the first time a human has joined the Demon King's army, but his proposal was rejected by Hemis, who was standing nearby. The next moment, Hemis' head suddenly split open, transforming into a large, petal-shaped maw. She pulled something out from within it. From now on, you are my pet's guardian. His name is Bobo. He's very lovable. Looking at the ferocious dog in front of me, I seriously suspected it was a hellhound from the underworld. Hemis looked at Bobo as it shook its head and said, "Looks like the little guy has taken a liking to you, hasn't he?" Under their intimidating presence, I had to force a smile and go along with it. After hearing me agree, Hemis let Bobo go. Remember to feed him promptly. If he gets hungry, he'll eat his guardian. And just like that, I was officially a member of the Demon Lord's army. At the same time, I received a new hero mission. After taking a closer look, I realized it was a quest worth 200 points. But the objective was actually to win Bobo's affection. Just then, the door was suddenly pushed open, and a goblin walked in. After learning he was also taken care of, Bobo, I gave him a bow. But just as I was asking where the other caretakers were, the goblin told me they'd all been eaten. From now on, it's just you and me making meals for Bobo. That's the whole job. If you get it, then hurry to the kitchen and get started. If Bobo gets hungry, the consequences are unthinkable. Right at that moment, Bobo suddenly woke up and snuck up behind the goblin. Sudden movement terrified the goblin, and he scrambled behind me, clutching my leg. Then, holding me tightly, he yelled to Bobo, "This newcomer is the food I prepared for you. Either way, one of us has to die now." The words had barely left his mouth when I grabbed that disgusting goblin and threw him right in front of Bobo. Seeing Bobo drooling, he must have been starving. And just like that, it devoured the goblin, leaving nothing behind. However, after finishing its meal, it turned its gaze to the goddess, Lachel. Just in the nick of time, I found a bone in my system that's supposed to attract canines. So after redeeming it, I held it in my hand, looked at Bobo, and asked if he wanted it. Then I threw the bone high up into the air, and just as I expected, Bobo caught it just like a normal dog. But I knew that trick wouldn't last for long. Sure enough, Bobo's stomach started rumbling again, and he immediately bared his sharp teeth at me. If I couldn't think of something fast, I was going to be its next meal. So I started racking my brain for a way to deal with this vicious dog. Finally, when I said the words, "Wanna go for a walk?" he suddenly became incredibly well behaved. To make sure he stopped thinking about eating me, I decided I had to find the kitchen first. Luckily, during our walk, I spotted a goblin walking along the path. Seeing him, I planned to ask for directions to the kitchen. But before I could even open my mouth, Bobo started barking like a maniac and pounced on the goblin, pinning him to the ground. He looked like he was about to eat him. After I yelled at him enough, Bobo finally let the goblin go. Then took the chance to ask where the kitchen was. The next second, the goblin just took off running, screaming, "Just keep going left, you'll find it." In any case, I had to get some meat from the kitchen, fast. That was the only way to get him to behave. However, just as I was getting ready to head out with Bobo, I realized he had vanished. Seeing this, I immediately started looking for him. If he causes any trouble around here, as his guardian, I'm done for. Thankfully, it wasn't long before Bobo came back on his own. But the blood dripping from his mouth made me a little suspicious. At the same time, a whole group of weapon-wielding goblins was following right behind Bobo. When I learned that he'd eaten one of their comrades, I immediately grabbed Bobo and made a run for it. But wouldn't you know it, we ran right into a dead end. Seeing no other way out, I yelled at them. "This is Bobo, the commander's most beloved pet." After hearing Bobo's name, many of the goblins started to back away in fear, but there were still a few who didn't believe who Bobo was and stood their ground. So, I immediately let him loose. Once Bobo sank his teeth into him, it was far too late for that goblin to have any regrets. Just like that, they were completely convinced and began bowing and apologizing. What I didn't expect was that my recent actions had actually triggered a hidden system reward. Before I could even react, the commotion attracted Lord Hemis, who came up behind me. After learning what I had done, the commander seemed very interested. As expected of a human, you really are clever, unlike some of the idiots around here. And you also possess extraordinary courage. That makes you different from ordinary humans. The armies of our Demon King tend to rely on brute force to solve every problem. That's why the difficulties we face are far more than just a few. For that very reason, I'd like to ask your opinion. Do you want to become an officer? Hearing this, I was completely stunned. Weren't you just telling me to raise a dog? And now you want to make me an officer? From this moment on, I will officially offer you 1 month of protection. But in return, you will have to face a person of my choosing in a duel, and win. Each time you win, I will extend your protection by another month. Until you become strong enough to be of use to me. But if you lose the battle, I will make you face a fate more painful than dying in combat. After leaving, I had no choice but to ask the elf for help. Didn't you say I had an SSS rank talent? Can't you help me get a little stronger? But the elf refused me. Having potential doesn't mean you're strong. It just means you have a lot of room to grow. Just then, as I was walking out of the castle, I saw a kitchen door stained with blood. It made me a little uneasy. I had no choice but to push the door open and cautiously step inside. But the person inside quickly noticed my presence. So you're the one the commander mentioned. I'm the chef, Kirkin. What are you doing here? To this, I awkwardly explained that I was trying to find some food for Bobo. Kirkin was surprised that the caretaker had changed again. What I didn't expect was for the guy in front of me to refuse me outright. Why should I help you? The commander only ordered me not to harm you. But if you really want meat, you'll have to go hunt for it yourself, just like the others in the kitchen. Looking at Kirkin's serious expression, I knew I definitely wasn't going to get any. But, to avoid becoming Bobo's next meal, he still chose to go hunting outside with this group of goblins. Unexpectedly, on his very first hunt, Il encountered a deadly danger. But luckily, a group of goblins stood in front of him and blocked the attack. Looking at the creature before him that wasn't quite dead yet, Il was momentarily stunned. Who is hunting whom here? Just then, Lachel suddenly made a suggestion. They could take this chance to escape. Il agreed with this choice. He felt that if he stayed here, something bad was bound to happen sooner or later. But just as he lifted his foot, Kirkin immediately stopped him. Yes, I'll lead the charge. No need for that. Kirkin glanced at him, because the hunt is already over. This left Il astonished. He had only been dazed for a dozen seconds, and they had already killed this behemoth. But even so, the goblins still paid a heavy price. The hunt ended with 13 dead and 25 seriously injured. But Kirkin showed no sadness at all over so many casualties. Instead, he was very satisfied with the result and told the team members to rest for a moment before preparing for the next hunt. After thinking for 2.5 minutes. But suddenly, Il gave up the thought of running away. Wait, Mr. Hero, are you really going to hunt monsters with them? No, I don't need to do that. Il had thought it through. As long as he participated in the kills here, he could gain experience and level up. Even if I just tap a monster with my fist as long as the final blow is mine. Then I'll get all the experience. So, I don't have to try hard at all. Lachel was stunned when she heard this. Could this guy actually be a genius? But that's just taking a shortcut. She didn't want the hero she was with to be this kind of person. But Il's mind was made up. I have to get strong enough within this month. With that, he walked up to Kirkin, who seemed to see right through his intention to escape. Human, I didn't expect you to come back. I've been here the whole time. Il quickly played dumb, then expressed his desire to join the hunt. You human, Kirkin didn't give his decision right away. Instead, he just stared intently at him, which made Il's skin crawl. The previous officers all liked my humble attitude. Is this guy different? It turned out he was overthinking it. The next second, Kirkin burst out laughing. For a human to say something so brave, how amusing. Il scratched his head. It's all thanks to your influence, chef. Swept up by the flattery, Kirkin quickly made a decision. He would have Il lead the team to hunt the monsters. This left Il completely stunned. He had only planned on hanging back to leech some experience. No. I'm just a humble human. How could I possibly stand before the noble demon clan? It would surely displease them. Just as the two were arguing, a panicked goblin suddenly ran over from a distance. He quickly explained the situation to Kirkin. A pack of wild wolves is attacking. In stark contrast to the goblin's panic, Kirkin appeared completely calm. He simply gripped the cleaver on his back. Looks like we're eating good meat again. Alright boys, let's go. Excellent. Il gave a sly grin. I just need to time it right and land the final blow. I'll help you too, Mr. Hero. Lachel, who was standing by, immediately cast a spell, greatly enhancing Il's physical strength. Although it would only last for 3 minutes. She thought she would be praised for this. But what she got instead was a huge fist to the head. You had something like this and you're only using it now? After receiving the buff, Il's confidence soared. It's only 5 black wolves. Then, he suddenly leapt up and threw a punch at a black wolf that was already on the brink of death. Level up. I can't believe that after stealing just 1 kill, he went up a whole 4 levels. But just as Il was overjoyed, he shoved another demon aside. Sorry, my foot slipped. Looking at the black wolf on the ground, Il licked his lips greedily. All the last hits are mine. Under his leadership, the 5 black wolves were quickly finished off. Il was planning to leave right after that. But unexpectedly, just then, Kirkin called out to him. He told him it was now time to taste the delicacy. This is a chef's privilege. To enjoy the freshest delicacies. After saying this, he handed a piece of meat to Il. As someone who contributed, perhaps you should have a taste as well. Staring at the bloody, raw meat in front of him, Il felt utterly repulsed. But he didn't dare refuse the kind offer, so he could only brace himself and take a bite. The meat itself was fine, but the original flavor just wasn't very good. As Il was eating, he suddenly had a flash of inspiration. If he could make even more delicious food, perhaps he could use it to control them. And so, Il didn't hesitate. He immediately bought a bottle of MSG from the hero shop. But he had no idea that doing so would bring a huge disaster upon him. The only hero who could save the world would have to resolutely join the Demon King's army and cook them fragrant barbecue. Because only in this way could the weak hero conquer the stomachs of these monsters with delicious food, thereby getting the chance to turn them against their own side. But this approach drew the intense disapproval of the goddess, Lachel. She believed that something as precious as hero points shouldn't be used to buy trivial things like seasoning. Even if they thought it was delicious, it wouldn't accomplish anything. You need to look at the bigger picture right now. Il ignored her thoughts. Instead, he picked up a piece of meat and started grilling. He wanted to shut Rachel's mouth with the results. Just watch. Cooked this way, even a shoe insole would be incredibly delicious. Medium rare, tender barbecue. The moment the seasoning was sprinkled on, an extremely rich aroma burst forth. I am the god of cooking in this world. Il was very satisfied with his creation. After it was cooked, he immediately took it to the head chef, Culkin, because freshly grilled meat is the most tempting. The other man just glanced at it and immediately declined politely. Thank you, but I'm already full. Faced with this situation, Il didn't choose to give up. This is my ultimate creation. If you would do me the honor, my lord, I could die right now with no regrets. After his repeated pleas, Culkin's heart finally softened. He took the barbecue and took a bite. But he never expected that this one small bite would instantly make him feel like he was back in his childhood. It's my mom's cooking. Culkin was extremely satisfied with the barbecue. Because he was very introverted when he was young, his mother's barbecue was the hope that accompanied him through his childhood. So, to thank Il, he gave him a large bag of fresh meat as a reward. If you need anything else, you're welcome to come find me again. Il hugged the fresh meat and returned to his dorm. Bobo, I'm back. But he never expected that as soon as the words left his mouth, Bobo would lunge at him with its massive jaws wide open. In a panic, Il quickly pulled out the fresh meat from the bag. That was just enough to shut Bobo's mouth. My baby, eat as much as you want. With a source of food, Il no longer had to worry about becoming Bobo's meal and could instead become its master completely. After eating 30 kilograms of fresh meat, Bobo's affection for Il greatly increased. Congratulations on completing the mission. You have successfully won Bobo's favor. Reward: 200 hero points. The completion of the mission greatly boosted Il's confidence. Excellent, this is going just as I planned. He then opened his information panel. But Lachel, seeing it from the side, was immediately stunned. You're not using those 22 free attribute points? Are you saving them for the next round? Well, it's not like a certain dummy told me what they were for, Il immediately retorted. These words successfully shut Rachel's mouth. Because as his personal goddess, she was obligated to teach Il all the knowledge of this world. Alright, Lachel said, immediately beginning her explanation. Attributes are divided into strength, agility, endurance, and magic power. Wait, Il immediately cut her off, because he'd also noticed the fifth stat. That was charisma. Oh, that one's different. Lachel explained that charisma was a hidden attribute. It can't be increased by adding points, only through training over time. But from what he could see, Il's charisma stat with male monsters wasn't low at all. Lachel continued her explanation, saying that physical stats are more important early on. But that's completely different in the late game, when mana becomes the dominant stat. Il took her advice and put most of his points into his physical stats. Now, you can go to the hero shop and buy the fundamentals of mana control. Lachel continued with her newbie tutorial. It'll teach you how to control your mana. It should only cost about 100 hero points, but Il searched the hero shop again and again. But he still couldn't find anything called mana control. How is that possible? I remember that being one of the most common items in the hero shop. Lachel looked confused. Il, on the other hand, let out a deep sigh. He had thought that his personal goddess was finally going to be useful for something. Turns out, he was thinking way too much. No, I swear it's in there. 3 weeks quickly passed just like that. In that time, Il finally managed to reach level 100. It took even longer than I imagined. I guess I must be the hardest working hero in this world. The long hours of high-intensity work made his life a living hell. What are you talking about? You're just a slacker now, aren't you? A slacker? The word instantly sent Il into a rage, and he slapped Lachel to the ground. Do you have any idea how many times I almost died? But it usually takes half a year to get to level 100. I was just trying to be nice. I didn't mean anything by it, Lachel said, looking wronged. You brought this on yourself. But just as the two were bickering, the main door outside was suddenly kicked open, and a goblin rushed in frantically. Tamer Il, the commander requests to see you. Having received the order, Il didn't dare to delay and quickly arrived at Hemis' office. Even Hemis was amazed by his physical transformation. She never expected that in less than a month, Il's physique would have become so much stronger. Even his mana had doubled. That's all from working hard to find ingredients for Bobo and training. Il quickly made an excuse to try and fool her. But he never thought it would be so obvious to Hemis. Is it because of the hero system? Il broke out in a cold sweat. Could it be she knows I'm a hero? Hemis stood up. She told Il that she had seen through everything from the very first time they met. The reason she hadn't said anything was because he was one of Laudren's favorites. And now she had one more reason not to kill him. Are you talking about the duel in a few days? Yes. Hemis nodded. Then, a terrifying aura suddenly burst from her body, and she transformed into her original form and lunged at Il. But just when they were less than half a meter apart, she stopped abruptly. If you don't want to die, then work hard. Try to make me a little happier, okay? After saying that, Hemis sent Il back to his dorms. What on earth will get the audience excited? Is it an exaggerated performance, or a flashy, overwhelming victory? Il kept thinking about this question, because if he couldn't satisfy Hemis, then I'm dead for sure. What do I do? What do I do? We're going to die. Rachel, as always, was reliably pessimistic. You could say she was no help at all. Let me think first, Il said as he opened the hero shop. He believed that if you know your enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. However, besides their opponent's name, they knew nothing else about the situation. Alright, this is it. Without hesitation, Il bought an item from it. It was a power scanner. It could help him measure his opponent's power level. Il aimed the power scanner at Rachel. The power level displayed was 375. Since he had no point of reference, he didn't know what kind of level this was. Here, let me see yours, Rachel suggested. Then, she stood behind the power scanner and looked at Il. The bizarre number it showed immediately left her stunned. This scanner, it must be broken, because it actually says, Il's power level is as high as 1560. How can you possibly be stronger than me? What's there to be surprised about? You look like the weakest one anyway, Il said as he took back the scanner. Rachel was on the verge of tears. Because before she was sent to this other world, her power level was over 10,000. To make sure the scanner wasn't broken, Il turned and aimed it at Bobo. Let's see what this little guy's power level is. Holy crap. The first moment Il saw the number on it, he was completely dumbfounded. 47,400. I can't believe the two of us are actually weaker than a dog. Are you sure this is a purebred dog? After thinking for a moment, Il decided to take the power scanner outside to check other people's levels. The weakest were the goblins. The others were basically around his level. But anyone with a commander's rank had a power level that was already over 10,000. You said my opponent is a platoon leader, right? Rachel nodded. His name is Iskulkin. I hear he's an orc with a pig's head. If it's just a platoon leader, Il estimated the opponent's power level should be around 3,000. If I go level up now, I should still be able to handle him. But while the dream was grand, reality hit him right in the face. When Il saw his opponent's power level, he instantly broke out in a cold sweat. He had a power level of over 6,000. Fighting him would definitely be a suicide run. Just as Il was frozen in a daze, the hero system suddenly popped up. Your chance of defeating that pig is almost zero. However, your refusal to give up in the face of despair is your strength. That's why I'm giving you a chance. Increase your power level to 3,000 within 1 week. Award: 300 hero points. This quest really came at the perfect time. Il grinned. Alright, no matter what, I'm going to do this. Whether it's the Observer, or Hermes, just you wait. I'm coming for you. I will definitely survive until the end. The next morning, Il went to the kitchen again, and there was Kalkin. He looked at Il's power scanner and couldn't help but comment, that's a pretty stylish gadget. Where'd you get it? Il scratched his head. I saw other people had one, so I bought one for myself. Kurkin turned around. He couldn't understand the aesthetic tastes of young people these days. So he told Yie to get ready for the hunt. Yes, sir. As Kurkin was turning away, Yie quickly put on his power meter and took a look. It was over 35,000. That's not the level of an ordinary commander. No, it wasn't just him. Yie quickly scanned everyone in the kitchen. The power levels of the people here were all a huge step above ordinary soldiers. Is this the result of training by fighting monsters all day? Looking at the situation, an idea suddenly popped into Yie's head. If I were to pick someone here to spar with, someone with a similar power level, wouldn't I be able to find out how strong I am? Commander Kurkin, please allow me to spar with one of the cooks. Spar? Kurkin was stunned. Yes, I believe that kind of training will be more helpful for my future. Kurkan's face was grim. He felt that for a human, Yie was already plenty strong. There was no need to be in such a rush to keep training. Yie put on a disappointed expression. What a shame. I brought some meat to roast today as a thank you. I guess we'll have to eat it another time. Yie pretended to put the meat he'd taken from his backpack away. Kurkin grabbed him. Let's do it now. Who do you want to fight? Preparations for the spar began quickly. Yie chose an orc named Geir Bakum as his opponent. The reason he chose Geir Bakum over the other kitchen soldiers was simple. First, he was an orc, just like Kurkin. Also, Geir Bakum looked to be the dumbest of the kitchen soldiers. However, his power level was 2500. That was almost double Ye's own power level. To be honest, he didn't think he could win. But I have to win. The immense power Kurkin had displayed flashed through his mind from time to time. This orc in front of me is much weaker than Kurkin. If I can't even beat this guy, I'll have no chance at all against Kurkin. What's going on? We're supposed to be going hunting. Ye and Gayer Bakum are going to spar? Hearing the news that Ye and Gayer Bakum were going to spar, the kitchen soldiers all gathered around. Spar? What's that? A fight. How do you not know? It means they kill each other. That means Ye's going to die. The dim-witted kitchen soldiers began to discuss with grave faces. If Ye dies, who's going to roast meat for us? We can't survive without meat. Let's kill Gayer Bakum first. That's a great idea. Just as the death sentence for the unfortunate kitchen soldier Gayer Bakum was about to be declared, Kurkin stepped in to mediate. All of you, shut up. You idiots. A spar isn't a fight to the death. It's just a test of each other's strength. The kitchen soldiers muttered among themselves at Kurkin's words. Is it arm wrestling? Maybe tug of war. Kurkin decided to ignore the idiots. Listen up, Gayer Bakum. He just needed to make Gayer Bakum, Ye's sparring partner, understand the situation. You absolutely cannot kill Ye. You can hit him, but go easy on him, understand? Understood. Gorbakum replied with a dumb look on his face, scratching his head carelessly. His eyes were unfocused, and he didn't look very reliable. But don't go too easy on him. Just hit him hard enough to actually hurt him a bit. Got it? And it would be best if you don't break anything. TCH, that's asking a lot. After this is over, I'll give you more meat. So do your best. As soon as he heard the word, meat, Gorbakum's eyes instantly lit up. Leave it to me, chef. Gorbakum suddenly spoke fluently and stepped forward. Let's begin. TCH. Alright, please go easy on me. Gorbakum and IR stood facing each other, keeping some distance between them. Kurkin acted as the referee, raising his arm. Ready, begin. As Kurkin's arm fell, the match started. Gorbakum got into his stance. I don't want to hurt him too much. IR is the one who grills the meat. He didn't want to hurt him. IR rushed at Gorbakum at full speed from the very beginning. Gorbakum raised his arm, but a gentle blow would have been enough to crush his face. However, unexpectedly, Gorbakum's fist didn't hit IR. It just cut through the air. At the same time, he saw ears kick. He could almost hear the wind being torn apart. A big Buddha mud-caked soul growing larger and larger. I'm gonna get hit. That was Gorbakum's last memory. And just like that, Gorbakum was defeated by IR with a single kick. 2.5 hours later, the 3rd Legion arrived at the forest behind the headquarters. Although the magical beasts hadn't appeared yet, IR was already in a state of unusual excitement. To be honest, he hadn't expected himself to win. But he had knocked out an orc with twice his combat power in a single blow. So now he knew that combat power didn't decide everything, and that he actually stood a chance against someone like Gorbakum. However, of course, Kurkin was much stronger than Gorbakum. After all, he possessed the strength to truly be called a monster. A large number of young Tarasques have appeared up ahead. Finally, the news IR had been waiting for arrived. Really? So this area is Tarasque territory? Kurkin was completely bewildered. This is a bit strange. Tarasque groups aren't usually found in this area. This made the usually decisive Kurkin hesitate. IR approached him. Is there a problem? Is this Tarasque meat not tasty? No, Tarasque meat is quite delicious. Especially the chewy Tarasque bone marrow. It's a true delicacy, but Tarasques are pack animals. If we're not careful, they might swarm us. Especially the mother Tarasque, also known as the Tarasque Queen. She has a strong maternal instinct. If we mess with her children, it's going to be a huge problem. So does that mean we can call it a day? IR said, scratching his head with a grin. No, since Tarasque meat is so delicious. We still have to catch them, Culkin said calmly. Anyway, Queen Terra's rarely appears outside the nest, so it should be fine. He said this while raising his giant cleaver. Everyone, charge. Today's snack is Terra's marrow. The kitchen soldiers sounded their battle cry. They began their charge. Remember to capture them alive? As the kitchen soldiers began to fight, Yer started his little performance again. He intentionally, accidentally, knocked a soldier aside, then stole the final blow on the monster. The last hit is mine. I need to level up. Yer took them down one by one, and his level kept rising. You're really good at kill stealing, Mr. Hero. Of course. Yer laughed happily. At this rate, he would definitely surpass Culkin soon. But just then, the ground suddenly started to shake. And it made a tremendous noise. What's going on? Yer looked around in confusion. The kitchen soldiers were just as shocked. But soon, the culprit behind the tremors quietly appeared. It was Queen Terra's. Her massive body almost darkened the sky. Looking at the pile of small Terra's remains on the ground, the queen's body trembled with uncontrollable rage. She wanted to make this group pay with their lives immediately. Yer looked up. He wanted to know just how high the power level of this queen, who even Culkin feared, would be. But as Yer aimed his power scouter at her, it immediately sounded an alarm. Measurement impossible, Mr. Culkin. What should we do now? Yer turned his head, but he only saw the back of a fleeing Culkin. Everyone, if fate allows it, we'll meet again. Just try to stay alive for now. Yer was dumbfounded. What the hell? That irresponsible bastard. At this critical moment, Queen Terrace's legs shot out towards the crowd like bullets. A large group of goblins who couldn't react in time were killed instantly, but the queen still wasn't satisfied. She let out a sky-shattering roar that nearly shattered Yer's eardrums. This thing, how can it make a sound like that? But before he could figure it out, Rachel's voice suddenly rang in his ear. Mr. Hero, look behind you. Alerted, Yer turned his head and saw a shocking sight. The ground was covered with a dense swarm of small terras, all charging towards him. Run. Yer had no choice. He could only flee with the main group. Those who were too slow were killed by the queen almost instantly. Help me. Agonized screams spread through the crowd, but Yer couldn't worry about them. He knew that if he stopped, he would surely die. He didn't want to die. After running for 10 minutes, Yer soon reached the front of a cave. It should be safe to hide in here, right? Rachel nodded. Safe. I've checked. There are no monsters inside. Although Yer didn't believe her. But it should at least be safer inside than out in the open. After thinking for a moment, he went in anyway. This cave was very deep and wide, and looked like a natural formation. Doesn't that mean the Tarrasque Queen could squeeze in here too? Rachel's words made Il freeze. He quickly scanned his surroundings. Then he discovered a puddle of green slime on a rock. This couldn't have been left by a Tarrasque, could it? But Culkin said there weren't any Tarrasques around here. So they continued deeper inside, only to discover an even more horrifying sight. The depths of the cave were covered with countless Tarrasque eggs. Could this be the nest of a Tarrasque Queen? Il stared in disbelief at the scene before him. We can't stay here. But just as he was frozen in shock, a Tarrasque spike shot towards him. Il sidestepped, dodging it. Why is there another adult Tarrasque here? There was no time to think. Are you sure this is the way out? Il didn't answer Rachel. He just kept running, but soon, he was tripped by an unknown object. In a panic, Il grabbed one of the eggs from the ground as a weapon and threw it with all his might at the Tarrasque. Unsurprisingly, the attack was caught. But the way the Tarrasque held the egg was incredibly gentle, as if it were afraid of breaking it. What's going on? Il stared at the Tarrasque, which had stopped its attack. Is she trying to protect that egg? Rachel was silent for a few seconds. I think she likes the thing you threw at her. Because it's covered in that slime. Il turned to look at the eggs on the ground, and an idea suddenly sparked in his mind. Could these be the Tarrasque's eggs? Il broke into a grin. Then, he picked up another egg. The move instantly made the Tarrasque tense up. He then got into a throwing stance and deliberately tossed it far away from the creature. But the adult Tarrasque, desperate to protect its young, still managed to catch it. Such terrifying speed. What should we do next? Il's lips curled into a smirk. Isn't it obvious? I've got over 100 more eggs right here. 10 odd minutes later, the adult Tarrasque was panting with exhaustion. But even so, most of the eggs couldn't be saved. Come on, give me the next egg. Il held out his hand to Rachel. That was the last one. Hearing this news, Il was completely stunned. This is bad. The enraged adult Tarrasque wasn't going to play along any longer. It immediately charged at him with extreme speed. Give me a buff. Quick, give me a buff. Rachel did as he asked. A blue light shimmered on Il's arm. That thing is already weakened from catching all those eggs. So I can win. Il raised his fist and slammed it forward with all his might. The moment they made contact, half of the Tarrasque's carapace instantly shattered. Pure white bone jutted out. I won. Il had a look of disbelief on his face. Mr. Hero, are you alright? Yeah, I am. The moment the buff faded, Il felt as if his whole body was being crushed. It hurts so much. Wait, I can cast a healing spell. As Rachel spoke, her hands emitted a dazzling light, and Il's mangled wound began to slowly heal. After his wounds were healed, he immediately allocated all the attribute points he gained from leveling up. But the next second, a familiar voice echoed from deep within the cave. Il looked up in surprise. The person who had arrived was none other than Chef Culkin. You're alive too? Of course. Il was speechless, remembering how Culkin had fled. What are you doing here? I found this cave while I was running away. I guess we're both lucky. Culkin laughed heartily. However, just then, Il told him that this was a Tarrasque's nest. Those are Tarrasque eggs. This place is their hatchery. Culkin stared at the eggs with a fiery gaze, not responding. These soft-shelled eggs are a top-tier ingredient. Most people die without ever getting to taste them. We have to escape now. Il couldn't help but curse. Culkin picked up an egg and popped it into his mouth. The Tarrasque Queen that was chasing me has probably already entered. To defeat her, you'd need at least an entire regiment. So, come and enjoy this last supper. Just as the two were arguing, a set of footsteps suddenly echoed from outside. It was the chef soldiers. Is this really my last meal? Il felt a sense of indignation. He didn't even have a wife in this other world yet. My life can't end like this. Meanwhile, in Commander Hems's office, she had summoned Laudren. There's no need for such stiff formalities. How is the mission I assigned you progressing? As you commanded, I have successfully captured the next Saintess. Just as I expected. I knew you could do it. Only about 3 weeks had passed, and Laudren had already managed to capture the Holy Empire's Saintess Elect. Well done. Hemis gently patted Laudren's head. But just then, the door to the room was suddenly pushed open. Commander, I have an urgent report. Chefs are reporting an accident during ingredient collection. This kind of thing happens every day, doesn't it? What's there to make a fuss about? Hemis pursed her lips. But the scale of the damage is a bit large this time. They encountered a Tarrasque queen, including head chef Culkin. Most of the chefs are either dead or missing. Hemis stroked her chin thoughtfully. And what about Il? He is also listed as missing. Listening to the conversation, Laudren froze in shock. Il? He's missing too? Meanwhile, back in the cave, Lord Culkin and the chefs were completely lost in the world of egg-eating. Il heaved a deep sigh, then viciously smashed a book against Culkin's head. The sharp pain snapped him out of it instantly. What are you doing? You seem to be under some kind of mysterious curse, so I used this method to wake you up. Il casually made up an excuse, but in reality, he just couldn't bear to see Culkin so dejected. As for the book in his hand, it was the Encyclopedia of Beasts that Il had spent 50 hero points on. Redeeming it from the shop. It recorded information on almost every demon beast. The Tarrasque was no exception. It read, they are a spider-type demon beast that lives in colonies. Their leg muscles are highly developed. To defeat a Tarrasque, you have to aim for its weaker parts, especially the torso and head. The Tarrasque's body fluid is highly flammable, and its eggs contain a liquid that's as explosive as a bomb. The caves built with Tarrasque saliva are also very weak to fire. So, you have to be careful not to use fire magic inside. Having finished reading about the Tarrasque's weaknesses, Yer closed the book. Mr. Culkin, can you use fire magic? Culkin turned his head. Just a little of the basics. Like, shooting fireballs. As he spoke, he sighed. Just give up. My level of fire magic can't burn through a Tarrasque's shell. Yer rolled his eyes at him, because his plan was never to burn the Tarrasque to death. Alright everyone, listen up. I have a plan to get us out of here. The goblin chef sighed. A useless struggle. We might as well stay here and keep eating eggs. Faced with this, Yer didn't give up. He continued to encourage them. If we manage to escape, not only will there be Tarrasque eggs to eat, but I'll also provide an unlimited supply of a deluxe grilled meat platter. The thought of the delicious grilled meat was enough to finally reignite everyone's interest. Let's get started right now. Even Culkin immediately called out to Yer. He couldn't help but drool. What's our plan? Yer was dumbfounded for a few seconds. Then, he announced his plan. What we're going to do is run straight for the outside. No matter what happens, you are not allowed to stop. Go. As soon as the word was out, Yer took the lead, running at the very front, and the others followed close behind. But unfortunately, they had only run a short distance when they ran into a large group of adult Tarrasques. Mr. Culkin, get ready. Yer held 2 eggs in his hands. Then, he threw them with all his might against the nearby wall, while Culkin simultaneously unleashed his fire magic. The moment the Tarrasque egg fluid came into contact with the flames, a violent explosion occurred. The shockwave nearly destroyed the cave. To protect the remaining eggs, the adult Tarrasques had no choice but to abandon Yer and focus on putting out the fire first. They're distracted. Run, quickly. Although none of them ever stopped running, the complex, winding terrain still made it difficult for them to find the exit. We only have 1 egg left. We have to find the exit before it's used up. Yer shouted. After running just a bit further, Lachel suddenly spotted a bright light in the distance. There's a light over there. It's the exit. Dodging the relentless attacks of the adult Tarrasques, Yer broke into a sprint in that direction. Soon, they were getting closer and closer to the light. We're almost out. But just as they were about to reach the exit, Yer stopped in his tracks, shocked. Because appearing before them was none other than the colossal Tarrasque queen. With her body alone, she completely blocked the entire cave exit. We're done, for the Tarrasque queen is back. Although her expression was one of extreme fury, Yer carefully observed something strange. Tarrasque queen wasn't actively attacking them. What in the world is going on? He guessed it might be related to the egg in his hand. Tarrasques are creatures with an extremely strong maternal instinct, model. Without any hesitation, Il tore a large piece of cloth from his arm. He had Kirkin set it on fire, then held both the cloth and the egg up high. If this egg explodes, we'll all die in here. But at the same time, the cave will collapse. All of your offspring will be buried with us. Il shouted. If you don't want that to happen, then get out of our way and let us out. Hearing this, the Tarrasque queen flew into a rage. She wanted to kill Il immediately. But her instinct to protect her young stopped her. Seeing that she didn't budge, Il yelled again. But unexpectedly, not only did she not back down, she let out a strange, sky-shattering shriek instead. There was no other choice. Il could only light the Tarrasque egg and then hurl it deep into the cave. The moment the Tarrasque egg hit the wall, it caused a massive explosion, making the entire cave tremble non-stop. Is it going to collapse? Watching the massive rocks continuously falling from above, Il knew instantly that the cave was about to collapse. Everyone, run, get outside. With that, Il quickly ran towards the cave entrance. But not long after he ran out, he suddenly stopped in his tracks. Because at that moment, he actually heard the notification sound of himself leveling up. Rachel looked confused. She grabbed him, trying to run outside, but couldn't even budge him. As the cave continued to collapse, the level up notifications rang out one after another. Il was stunned. It seemed the Terras that were crushed to death in here, all their death experience points were being credited to him. Could it be because I'm the one who collapsed the cave? Not daring to linger any longer, Il quickly ran outside. But escaping outside past the Terra's queen was indeed no small challenge. However, he had no choice. But thankfully, at that moment, Kirkin took out a prized Terra's egg and looked at it reluctantly. I'll use this egg to buy us a way out. But just as he finished speaking, the Terra's queen's attack came swiftly. Without a moment's hesitation, Il slid under the queen and slipped away. But just as he was about to escape, the Terra's queen, from her mouth, spat out a stream of spider silk, entangling Il's arm. It's over, I'm dead. The queen's attack came without hesitation, stabbing straight towards Il. However, just then, a crimson figure appeared in front of him. It was Laudren. Are you alright? Il was completely surprised. He didn't understand why Laudren would be here. I knew you were still alive. A smile played on Laudren's lips. I'll take it from here. As he spoke, a terrifying power erupted from his body, instantly shattering the Terra's queen. The scene left Il completely stunned. So damn strong the final result of this hunt was that 99 chefs went missing or died, including head chef Kirkin. After the battle ended, Il returned to Popo's room. Thanks to that bull-headed guy. Otherwise, we would have been goners. Having narrowly escaped death, Rachel let out a sigh of relief. But soon after, Il immediately brought her back to reality. Just enjoy the time we have now. We're all about to be doomed. My duel with Kirkin is starting soon. Rachel didn't agree, but you've gotten so much stronger. You went up a full 75 levels from that cave collapse. Now your level is already at 200. He still only had a power level of 3,500, while his opponent had a full 6,000. But Il had thought about it. The outcome of a fight doesn't just come down to power level. His match with Gorb Arkham was a perfect example. Rachel nodded in agreement. Exactly. A fight isn't just a contest of strength. It's also about magic. If you want to beat an opponent of that caliber, you have to learn how to use magic. But unfortunately, Il had no idea how. That's easy for you to say. However, Rachel said, her tone shifting. Back at the Terra's hatchery, it seemed like you had some experience using magic. Her words left Il completely bewildered. I used magic? Could she mean that time? Just as Il was lost in thought, Laudren pushed the door open and walked in, which gave Il quite a scare. Sir, what brings you to a humble place like this? Laudren stated his purpose. He wanted to take Il to see Commander Hemis. Led by Laudren, the two of them quickly arrived at Hemis's office. What brings you here, Laudren? You don't normally come to see me on your own. Without any more pleasantries, Laudren got straight to the point. Commander, let me train Il personally. Kirkin is a platoon leader. But I've recently realized his skills are actually more suited for a deputy battalion commander. Therefore, Laudren felt this fight was extremely unfair to Il. Let me train Il. I can bring out his full potential. Il was floored. Why would he do this? He silently prayed that Hemis would refuse, but to his surprise, Hemis agreed without a second thought. Thank you, Commander. If there's nothing else, you may leave. I have work to attend to. There was nothing to be done. Il had no choice in the matter. Thank you so much, my great commander. After they left, Hemis's lips curled into a smile, because he realized that Il's power had more than doubled in just these few short days. For a human to grow so quickly, how amusing. But this also gives me a bit of a headache. If Laudren helps him, then Kirkin might actually lose. I absolutely cannot let that happen. Hemis already had the perfect plan in mind. Meanwhile, Laudren and Il quickly arrived at the training grounds. This is my private training ground. Il stood there, stunned. Hemis actually gave him his own training ground? He must hold this guy in really high regard. Laudren stopped in his tracks and turned to stare intently at Il. He discovered that the boy possessed an immense amount of magical power. But he still didn't know how to use it. Il felt his skin crawl under Laudren's intense gaze. He had no idea what the man wanted. I should probably start by teaching him the basics. The duel is in just 4 days. We don't have much time. Laudren suddenly turned, clenching his fists. He decided to push Il to his absolute limit, to make him unleash his potential. Pain is a part of growth. Il didn't have time to react and was hit directly by Laudren's powerful punch. What is this guy doing? Is he crazy? Didn't he say he was going to train me? Why is he suddenly attacking me? Without any hesitation, Laudren clenched his fists and closed in again. Focus all your energy on blocking, or else you will die. Warned, Il raised his arms to block. But the immense force of the blow still sent him flying several meters away. Strange. His physical strength isn't high, but his reaction speed and field of vision are quite good. His mental strength is exceptional, Laudren guessed. It was no accident that he failed to dodge Il's kick when they first met. This kid has a ton of real combat experience. Laudren charged towards Il at full speed. That bet you made with Commander Hemis if you don't have any mana. It's impossible for you to defeat Kirkin. Rather than be humiliated in front of everyone, you might as well die here. Laudren's powerful strike sent Il flying. He wasn't joking. If I take another hit like that, I'll really die. Laudren clenched his fists, preparing to launch another heavy punch. He believed Il could manage to use his mana. Damn it, I'll risk it all. I can't die. I haven't even gotten a wife in this other world yet. Il also clenched his fists and charged towards Laudren. Suddenly, a stream of azure mana began to swirl around his hand. Their attacks hit each other at the same time. The collision of mana against mana created a massive shockwave across the ground. After that one blow, Il had completely exhausted his strength and collapsed onto the ground. Laudren walked over. You notice? You just used mana. Even in this state, Il didn't forget to give a thumbs up and flatter him. That's because you're such a great teacher, sir. Laudren grabbed his hand. Good. If you keep this up, you'll definitely have a chance to win. As Laudren spoke, he began to heal Il. But just as he infused his magic into the boy's body, Il's eyes shot wide open, as an excruciating pain shot through his body. Damn it, Il struggled as he coughed up blood. He could barely breathe anymore. It's over. I forgot you were human. Laudren's eyes widened in terror. To humans, dark magic is like a deadly poison. He immediately began apologizing profusely as he picked Il up. In this situation, only the Saintess can save him. The powers of this world counteract each other. Dark magic counters magic. Magic counters divine power, and divine power in turn counters dark magic. Magic belongs to humans, and dark magic belongs to the demon race. While divine power belongs to those who revere the gods. The most famous among them is the Holy Gallant Empire. They can even hear the voices of the gods. And from within the empire, they choose the most outstanding individual to become the Saintess. At the headquarters of the Demon King's 3rd Army Corps, a human woman was locked away in a room deep inside. Her long, silver hair cascaded down to her waist. She had snow-white skin and eyes that were the same silver as her hair. Her features were so exquisite that the mere sight of her was enough to take one's breath away. But for some reason, her eyes were completely lifeless, like those of a dead fish. Her name was Abelson Marriott, the next Saintess of the Gatlin Holy Empire. Not long ago, she was kidnapped by Laudren and has been imprisoned in this place ever since. She hadn't even prayed to God for many days. The requirement to become a saint was the ability to hear the voice of God. Although she could also hear God's voice, she didn't seek him out here. She knew that no matter what, it would all be in vain. Just as Abelson was lost in thought, the door to the room was suddenly thrown open. The one who entered was none other than the Red Nightmare, Laudren. He was breathing heavily. It was obvious he had rushed to get here. Seeing his anxious expression, Abelson was confused. Because the ruthless and decisive Red Nightmare, Laudren, rarely showed any emotion. What's going on? Hurry and save this human. Laudren shouted in a panic. Il had already fallen into a deep sleep. He felt like his head was about to split open. Il slowly tried to remember. In his final moments, he recalled being struck by Laudren and falling to the ground. Damn it, did I really die holding a man's hand? Il couldn't accept it. At the very least, he should have died holding a woman's hand. Even Rachel would have been fine as he was thinking this. Il suddenly felt a warm power. He cautiously opened his eyes. He was met with the sight of a goddess. She had silver hair and silver eyes. The goddess remained silent, her face expressionless. I must be dead, and I'm back in that place, waiting to be reborn. Il was absolutely convinced of this. Goddess, I will never forgive any of you. And send Rachel to hell. She's a demon wearing the mask of a goddess. And finally, if you're planning to make me the hero again, you'll have to marry me first. After listening to him, a hint of sadness crossed the Saintess's face. How pitiful. Did you die single in both of your lives? Before Il could even process the Saintess's sweet voice, Laudren suddenly burst in. You're finally awake, he cried, embracing Il with tears in his eyes. But the immense pressure felt like it was going to crush Il's body. If this keeps up, I'm going to die again. Laudren quickly let go of Il. After a few seconds of being dazed, Il held his breath and looked around. The goddess was still there. Could it be she isn't a goddess? But a real person? Oh no. What did I just say to her? Is he fully recovered? Laudren asked the Saintess anxiously. Abelson shook her head, still uncertain. As you've noticed, the dark magic hasn't completely left his body. I don't know what will happen next. After hearing this, Laudren was stunned for a moment. Even your divine power can't erase it? This might just be temporary. With time, the dark magic may disappear on its own. For now, let's just observe his condition. Abelson spoke calmly. I'm sorry. I'll find a way to make it up to you with training. Laudren hugged Il tightly. No, no, no. My lord, you don't have to do this for a mere servant like me. Before Il could finish his sentence, Laudren led him out of the room. The Saintess who was left behind had a puzzled look on her face. That demon was actually training a human? Who on earth is he?